On June 2nd, 1997, high school student Quimby Ghilotti died and 32 of her classmates were injured in a horrific, disastrous incident after the Banzai Pipeline waterslide they jammed themselves into to pull a stunt simply collapsed under their weight. The senior high school students were days from graduation and wanted to fulfill a tradition that was practiced by their predecessors in other water parks. They were hoping to get as many as 70 students to swoosh together at once from the top of the Banzai Pipeline slide in Concord Waterworld Park. The tradition was simple, yet dangerous. Every year, the students from Napa High would hit a water amusement park in Northern California just before graduation and jam themselves on top of a pre-selected massive water slide. They would grip to the sides of the chute to stay in place, and then swoosh downwards at once. The senior class of 1997 literally muscled their way past the lifeguard and ignored all warnings, and soon paid a very heavy price. One student died, and the rest sustained a variety of painful injuries that included plenty of broken bones, concussions, and deep cuts. The scene was so horrific the pool at the bottom of the slide turned red from blood. The first police officers at the scene thought they were walking into a war zone. There were simply too many bodies scattered on the ground, screaming from agony and pain. Stay tuned for the crazy story of the Waterworld Concord mass water slide disaster. From 1995 to 2003, the water park was known as Waterworld USA Concord. Then it got a name change and became the Six Flags Waterworld from 2004 to 2006. Then again, it was renamed Waterworld California from 2007 to 2017. And finally, it became the Six Flags Hurricane Harbor Concord in 2018. The reason behind the many names was a change in management and ownership since it opened in 1995. Today, Six Flags Hurricane Harbor Concord includes thrilling water rides, family water slides, a splash zone, a lazy river, a wave pool, and much more. It is currently rated as one of the best water parks in the entire state of California. The 120 members senior class of 1997 at Napa High School had big plans for the school-planned trip to Waterworld on July 2nd. They were quite excited and eager to perform a massive stunt at the 75-foot-tall Banzai waterslide, which is also known as the Pipeline, a tradition that was carried by their predecessors. Their plan was perfect. Swarm the slide's lifeguard just before the last call to return to their buses is made and perform a mass plunge. They knew it was not allowed, and they were even warned about it. But a tradition is a tradition, and the teens had no intentions of skipping the fun. They wanted to seal their year with something to remember for the rest of their lives. Little did they know, they were about to get a lot more than just memories and a mega thrill. Their plan was even cheekier than their predecessors. They wanted to break the previous record by getting more than 70 people to take the slide at once, like a train. Around 3:25 p.m., the call for the Napa High School students to head back to their buses was made on the park's loudspeakers. Most of the students began heading back, but for 33 of them, the call was the signal for rushing to the Banzai Pipeline for the stunt of a lifetime. They began climbing the ride and rushed the lifeguard, who warned them that what they're about to do is just too dangerous and they must abort. They began jamming themselves onto the chute while laughing and screaming from joy, effectively creating a human train of 33 people idling on the ride's chute, waiting for more students to join. The lifeguards usually never allow more than one person to take the plunge at a time. Their total weight amounted to 3 times the maximum weight the ride's chute could handle. It was only a matter of seconds before the plastic and fiberglass chute began to crack. The sound of the ride cracking and tearing was terrifying. It was simply too late. The ride suddenly and violently collapsed, sending the 33 students into a freefall toward the ground. Some people tried to hang on to the cracked parts of the chute, but what they got in return were deep cuts that turned the water in the pool red. They too fell, and their blood filled the place. Horrified onlookers looked in fear and shock as the loud sound of the collapsing slide shattered their thoughts and was followed by the terrifying screams of the 33 students as their bodies slammed into the concrete, dirt and grass on the ground. The lucky ones in the front of the pile fell from about 30 feet high. As for the ones in the back, they had to endure an extra 10 to 15 feet as they were higher on the slide. It was a scene from hell. People in the park and the staff didn't know what to do. There were simply too many people screaming in pain and agony, some barely able to call for help, and many unconscious from their sheer blunt force they received from the hard, unforgiving ground. It was a chaotic scene. One police officer who served in the army before and was used to seeing death and injuries described the scene as pandemonium. The police had to shut down some of the nearby streets to allow faster access by the emergency vehicles. Emergency rescue helicopters had to join the operation to speed up the transport of the seriously wounded to hospitals. Every single one of the students survived the ordeal, except 18-year-old Quimby Ghilotti. Her injuries were just too severe because she landed directly on her head. She died about an hour after the incident in the Mount Diablo Medical Center in Concord. According to witnesses, they saw a huge lineup of kids on the slide, piling on the chute as more joined. Then the slide cracked, broke, rolled, and dropped. The lifeguard at the top of the ride was blowing the whistle with all her strength and screaming for support. Many additional lifeguards were rushing to stop the stunt, but the slides collapsed mere seconds before they arrived. According to investigators and witnesses, the slide snapped downward, and one knot of youths clumped together fell first. They were followed one after the other by the rest, many banging against wooden support poles on the way down before smacking into the earth or other students. The victims laid helplessly in a massive pile of debris until rescue crews arrived. The spilled water from the collapsed slides turned red with the victims' blood. It was like a war zone after bombs fell on residential areas. Even the onlookers were screaming and crying. Investigators further elaborated that Quimby Ghilotti died because on the way down her chest hit a wooden pole that caused her to land on her head. According to records from 9 hospitals in the area, many of the students arrived at the hospital in either serious or critical condition. For the students' parents, it was a hellish few hours because none of the students involved in the crash had IDs on them because they left them at the park's gate before entering, as per park rules. Families couldn't even locate which hospital their children were sent to. The other Napa High students who didn't join the stunt and weren't injured were packed onto the 4 school buses that had brought them, and most were sat crying until they were taken home about 2 hours after the catastrophe. Approximately $4 million in settlements were paid to the affected families by 3 entities: Waterworld's parent company, Premier Parks, the slide designer and builder, and the Napa Valley Unified School District. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell button to get notified every time we upload a new video that will take you to the heart of the scenes and mysteries of some of the most terrifying incidents, accidents, disasters, and paranormal events from around the world.